guys, Mark aka the Nerdy Punk back with you again today for a new video. Tonight's video is going to be a response to David Newton, who just hit 100 subscribers on his channel in the VC, so congratulations David. I've been watching your videos pretty recently. I believe I discovered your channel and really enjoyed what you've shown. David really likes a lot of rock music like I do. He also really likes horror movies, which is another one of my obsessions. I love showing off my movie collection as well here on YouTube, not just vinyl and music. And horror is my favorite genre as well, so he's just had a fantastic channel that I've really enjoyed watching. So definitely congratulations goes out to David. Alright, for his contest, he asked us 5 questions, and they're all around the theme of school, because his wife is a teacher, which I am also a teacher. I'm going into my first year of teaching this fall. I'm going to be teaching high school history. So it's actually kind of perfect and kind of funny that it just happened to work out that way. But anyway, all 5 of these questions, some way or another, kind of relate to the school theme. So without further ado, I'm going to get into these picks. I have on my laptop over here his description up here, so I can look at the questions while I'm looking at that. So if you see me looking in this direction, that's why. Alright, first question is sharing 1 to 5 albums that were your favorite during your high school years. So for a lot of people, childhood and especially high school is a time that we develop our music tastes and we become incredibly attached to certain bands and artists and styles of music. Story's not like that for me. My time period when I got really passionate about music and really fell in love with some artists and genres was college. I was a little bit of a late bloomer in a lot of regards. We all live life at different speeds, and there's nothing wrong with that. That being said, my high school years, I still liked music, and I still listened to music, and so I have a couple picked out that I own on CD. Another thing, most of this video is going to be on CD, my collection on CD. Also, I didn't get into vinyl until I was in college. So when I was in high school, if I bought music at all, I bought it on CD. Most of the time I would just listen to the radio. And my MP3 player, and things like that, you know, getting on those illegal download sites, downloading it onto my MP3 player, and then listening to it. That was kind of how I consumed music back in the day. But most of my, like I said, most of my high school tastes come from my CD collection. And there are 2 albums that I'm going to be sharing for this question that I actually don't have with me. One of them was the very first CD I ever bought, and I cannot find it. I think it's at my parents' house. So kind of disappointed that I can't show that one off. But then I also have an album that I was really into in high school that I just don't own on vinyl or CD. I would definitely like to add it to my collection soon. But anyway, let's go through the 2 that I own here. First up is All American Rejects. It's not necessarily this particular album, although I really did like this album. It was just this band as a whole. Their first 3 records are fantastic, really good pop-punk stuff. This is one of the first pop-punk bands I ever got into. It was them, Blink-182 and Sum 41 that I became really big fans of in high school, even before I discovered Green Day, which is now my favorite band. Really good songs on here are I Wanna and Gives You Hell was the really big hit off of this record. So this is called As the World Turns by All American Rejects. And then my other pick that I actually own is Blink-182, Enema of the State. So like I said, this is one of the first pop-punk bands I ever got into, and I really got into this band because of the movie American Pie. So both the movie American Pie and this album came out in 1999. Another thing about me, a lot of the music that I listened to, even in high school, was not music that was from my generation. I have always loved older music. Music that come out of the 90s especially is my favorite, but I also love music that came out of the 80s and the 70s. I never really liked my generation's music that well. Still don't. But, yeah, so a lot of these albums are older. But I really bonded with those movies, American Pie, when I was in my, early teens. And really loved the music in it. And one of the main bands in it was Blink-182. So, yeah, fantastic record. This CD actually doesn't even play anymore. That's how many times I've listened to that. The other ones, the very first CD that I ever bought was Maroon 5's Songs About Jane. And I have owned a couple different copies of that over the years, and I cannot seem to find my most recent copy. So, like I said, I think it's at my parents' house. I'll have to see. But at one point, Maroon 5 was my favorite band. That was during high school. And Songs About Jane was my favorite album for a very long time. Came out in 2002, so a little bit before my time, but I really got into them in 2010, 2009, when the single Misery came out off of their album Hands All Over. I loved that song, and then I went back and listened to the old Maroon 5 albums, and I still contend that Songs About Jane is a good record. It's a really good record. Even if you think, of what Maroon 5 is today is absolute horseshit compared to what they were back in the day. They actually made some really good music. It blended elements of pop and rock and like funk, R&B, blue-eyed soul. Really, really good stuff from that band in the early 2000s, early to mid-2000s. After their 2010 record is when they started to go on the downhill slide, and I do still own their most recent album, but it's nowhere near as good as what they had once made. The other record that I actually do not own, that I was a really big fan of in high school, is Some Nights by the band Fun. I loved that record. It came out in 2012, which is one of the only records that I was obsessed with when it actually came out in my high school years. I was, I believe, a sophomore in high school when that record came out, and the song We Are Young absolutely blew up. It became #1 on the Billboard charts. I loved that song so much and loved the record. There's all sorts of really good songs on there. Some Nights, Carry On, I believe All Alone was on that record that I really loved as well. So yeah, moving on to number 2. I am talking up a storm here. Number 2, share an album by your favorite band or artist that you feel deserves an A+. Alright, this is where we get to talk about some of my college interests here. Green Day is my favorite band of all time, of course. If you've watched my videos, you know that. Flag. I could have picked American Idiot, which is actually my favorite album of all time, but I picked Dookie instead because Dookie I own on vinyl, and I wanted to throw a little bit of vinyl into this video. Dookie and American Idiot, both, I think, are perfect albums. I love them so much. I listen to them front to back over and over and over again. I have listened to them front to back over and over and over again. I've been a huge Green Day fan for about 4.5 years, and I've listened to these albums hundreds of times, and I still love them so much. So yeah, Dookie by Green Day. Number 3, share an album by your favorite band or artist that you feel didn't quite make the grade. So, I don't think that Green Day has any bad albums. I'm obviously biased, considering I'm such a huge fan of them, but I really don't think any of their records are bad. I think they definitely have some weaker stuff, and this is one of them. Uno. Now, I have a soft spot in my heart for the trilogy, because I really loved the trilogy. If you don't know, this was the first in a trilogy of albums that Green Day released called Uno, Dos, Tres in the fall and winter of 2012. So they released 3 albums in the span of like 3 months. And they're referred to as the trilogy of albums. And so I like the trilogy a lot, but this is definitely the weakest album that Green Day has ever put out in Uno. Just a lot of songs that sound the same, a lot of them that are very repetitive. Weak lyrics, just in general, a subpar album from Green Day, but I still think it's a decent record. Like, I think it's an enjoyable listen, but, weakest material that Green Day has put out. Alright, number 4, Sheeran Album that was released the year you graduated from high school. So I graduated from high school in 2014, and one of the albums that I was obsessed with back then was Hozier. So Hozier's self-titled debut record. He put out a new record this year that I wasn't really a big fan of, but I really love this album. Very blues rock inspired, got some folk elements as well. This guy is from Ireland. He puts out really good music, really deep lyrics that as a 18-year-old I had a tough time understanding. Now, they're not quite as deep as I thought, but they're still pretty deep. The big single off of this record was called Take Me to Church, and it was also, I believe, #1 on the Billboard for a while. Other songs that I really love on here are Angel of Small Death and the Codeine Scene, From Eden, Someone New, let's see, Work Song is great, Like Real People Do, and Foreigner's God, I love. This was also the time that I was starting to have my own thoughts on religion. I grew up in a very Christian household, and I was starting to have my own thoughts, like kind of rebellion in a way, but, you know, not really believing in God anymore. And this album has a lot of lyrics that are kind of critical of organized religion. Not necessarily critical of God, but critical of organized religion and what it does, and how the Catholic Church has kind of perverted the religious, or perverted like spirituality. And of course, being from Ireland, he is most familiar with the Catholic Church. He grew up in the Catholic Church, so it's a, you know, good place that he was coming from. Alright, number 5 is the last one. So it is sharing an album that is related to school, or a song title that is related to school. I had a tough time with this because I don't have a whole lot of that in my collection. You know, some of the more famous ones like Alice Cooper, School's Out, you know, Hot for Teacher, which a song that I love, but I don't have any Van Halen, unfortunately, in my collection. But I did pick out something, and this is the Ramones. And the song specifically is song number 16 on this, Rock and Roll High School. So yeah, that's my that's my last pick there. Alright, once again, congratulations on the 100 subs. I will leave David's channel in the description down below. Definitely go ahead and give him a sub, because he definitely deserves it. So, thank you again. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and have an amazing night. Bye.